live? All right, cool. What's going on, DBI? You know who I am, and you know who you are, and hopefully you know why we are here. This is going to be a roleplay review going over the title here, the wolf the balance of wolf and bear. And if we scroll up here, we're going to have the players in this log. They're going to be Yugen and Fusen. This is going to be a battle of physics and ideals. In the arc, the tiger, the wolf, and the bear. And the synopsis is pretty simple. Fresh off the heels of recent bouts, the bear and the wolf, they finally meet. Now, I do want to add that Sax is also in this log. Kind of plays a pertinent role, kind of doesn't. But to get right into it, this is right after Yugen's fight with Nova. And I'm not sure what battle Fusen was in before this. Somebody in the comments let me know so that I can just remember. But both of them are kind of healing in these tents and by these healing pools that I can just imagine basically hot springs up in the mountains somewhere near and around the main training camp that Nova has set up, the main training sanctuary. And it starts off with Yugen just kind of like, waking up. He's, feeling the cold air. In my mind, I'm having like, our Witcher emote vibes of like he's kind of like just in this pool and there's like these handmaidens attending to him, and the bear is getting cleaned. And Sax is kind of here. I think he's riding a lightning elemental of some sort. Not really sure. But Sax is there at the beginning, and Fusen wakes up. And Fusen is also in the healing pools, being, bandaged and being taken care of. And kind of right away, Fusen wakes up and just kind of gets into like it's kill mode. It's go time. And even here somebody was like, that's the wolf. And he kind of just gets right into doing what Fusen does and kind of attacks and gets right into it. And I'm not going to give you like a post by post synopsis of what it is, but Fusen wakes up, Yugen wakes up. They kind of have a bit of Fusen's kind of attacking and kind of going on over here. Yugen's really just kind of getting the cobwebs out. Sax is there too and is kind of like eavesdropping. Maybe. It's kind of hard to tell. Because again, I mean, while Sax was there and while I did read this, I read this log probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago. So forgive me for the late review. And I don't have my notes with me. I left my notes at work. So doing all this from the top of the dome. But basically, there's one person, one NPC, this nameless NPC that kind of stands up to Fusen, and he gets knocked out. And by that ass whooping, it then alerts everybody else to what's going on. And we get into the real meat and potatoes. And the one thing that I did like and that I felt like was a good insight and something that helped ascend this log was when Sax, of all people, was using their like communication through the mind technique, and they tried to speak to Fusen. And it's right here. This post right here. I'm going to read this to you. It says, as Sax reached out to Fusen's mind for conversation, all he would feel emanating is a red clouded miasma. Rather, entering his mind would feel like you were drowning in a mist of sorts. It was difficult to perceive what Fusen was thinking, or if he was thinking about anything in particular at all. A fractured mind is a mysterious one. All the while, his body was prepared to enter a bout with Yugen. The martial artist's questions were clear, yet the wolf refused to speak his answers. That one sentence earlier was all before the silence. Right now, Fusen tested Yugen's range, and then he kind of jumps in there. But at the beginning of it, where he literally tells us this is what Fusen's mind looks like, it really made me think about this character in a different way, in a way that I don't think has actually been explained, and I love to read in too deeply on some shit. And I think I am here. But it made me think that through all of this, especially when we get kind of into the conversation where, you know, Yugen is really trying to figure out what this guy wants. He knows that he's been around. He's killed a few people. He knows that, you know, this guy is dangerous. But he doesn't know why. And they really do kind of get into this like battle of ideals, which we've talked about a lot on these channels through me, Ike, everybody. But this battle of ideals kind of comes to fruition and comes to a head, and Fusen gives a lot of answers that don't really follow what he's saying, right? They're coherent answers, but if you think about them for more than a second, it kind of starts to unravel what his motivation is, right? He says he wants to end Ascended and potentials to avoid the worst. And then Yugen comes back and says, like, well, if you can't, like, there's a balance to everything. That's what I'm about. Like, I'm trying to balance everything, but Ascendeds have existed for, like, hundreds of thousands of years. You know, like, you'll never be able to do that. And, he's like, and then he comes back with balance suggests the fact that it could be tipped. There should be no balance. There should be no need for balance. He's like, you know, he's kind of like saying, like, we should get rid of everything. And Yugen comes back. He's like, to deny balance is to deny the very essence of existence. You know, he's like, you may not understand this now, but in time you will come to understand. And this is all while they are fighting, right? So this fight is happening. And again, I'm not going to go blow by blow and explain what happens to it. You guys can read the log. But I think the real chunk of this is that Yugen is saying that, like, I represent balance. And you are representing just pure chaos. And he's like, no, just remove all balance. Remove order and chaos. There's only silence and a deafening sound. And that it's like, I want to destroy all martial artists because they are dangerous. And Yugen's like, well, you're never going to do that. You're never going to do that because there needs to be balance in this universe. So rather than try to destroy all of them, why don't you just try to keep it even keel so it doesn't tip one way or the other? And he's like, nope, everything's got to go, right? We just got to wipe it all clean. And he's like, well, then you're just going to kill everybody. You're just going to wipe everything out. You know, like, you're literally just wanting to cause chaos. And Fusen kind of is now saying, like, I got to go even deeper. I have to become the end of the universe, almost, is what he's saying that he wants to become. And you know, this is where I'm kind of like, okay, it's emptying that's needed for peace in the world. It's harmony in nature. But, like, you just said, you don't want harmony and balance. You don't want chaos. You want everything just to be gone. And again, to me, it just seems like Fusen is possessed by something, right? With the way that all of this is just kind of like I just need to kill and annihilate. And when Sax again is trying to talk to him through his mind, and you don't see a mind, it's just an endless drowning sea of hatred, mist of hatred, should we say, a malevolent presence in someone's mind, but there is no person there. That's what I'm like, whoa, like that's not what I thought this character was. And if there was a puppet master behind all this, if there was a person who was forcing Fusen not to remember, not to think too much about what he's doing, and just to weird, just to do, then that makes this very interesting. That right there makes this log probably way more than it was, right? And it was all because of one simple thing. Sax wanted to communicate with this person through his mind. We got to look into his mind. We got to look into not the motivation that he says, right? We got to look at true motivation. We got to look beyond the veil of personality and persona, and we got to see what really is at the gooey nougat core of this person. We got to see the good stuff on Fusen, right? And it's good. We got to really understand that we don't understand anything about this character. We don't really know why they want to do it, and neither do they. And I hate to want to like inject myself into every story, but man, I would love to take Almon. I basically had the same character. I had the same character as Fusen. I even called him the Red Beast, and he did the exact same thing. He was just a visceral. He was God, what's the Nikali. If you guys don't know who Nikali is from Street Fighter V, look him up. I won't bore you with it, but he was basically that. He was just an evil presence that wanted to fight and kill and annihilate, and he called himself the Red Beast. He was that. And I would want to like use that old character and really get in good with Fusen, like maybe not be the puppet master, but maybe be like, hey, like you are now the reincarnation of me, and this is how you go deeper into getting it. So that was a very big highlight of the log for me. Another one was up here where Yugen really in this log cements himself as like the heroic archetype. He's always been kind of like the martial artist, the wandering warrior, right? The I hate to use Street Fighter again, but the Ryu, where it's just like I was trained, my masters are all gone, and now I walk the path of the fist to find my true answers and find my true strength, with only the fight guiding me. That's kind of how I've always envisioned Yugen since he's been on the road. But here he says, it looks like you came to prey on the weak and the sick, but you have found yourself a martial artist. While the words that he said are true, his actions were more of that of like a paladin, right? He could have taken the apathetic martial artist approach of like, look, like I'm not really healed. I'm not beholden to any of these people. You can do what you want, right? He could even say like, I want to fight you not to defend these people, but I just want to fight you. You look interesting, right? But the way that he said it is like, you have come to prey on the weak and the sick. However, you have found yourself a martial artist. I know, again, what he says is this, but what I'm hearing is I'm going to be the bulwark between you and the weak and the sick behind me. And you won't get through me very easily because I'm not like them. I am a warrior. And to me, I was like, damn, like want to say if that like that's a half chub right there, right? Like that is that's some good shit. Like that is a heroic ass hero, like quote or phrase, and like that is shit like you would say in high school after you just watch like this badass Marvel movie. And he was like, "Oh yeah, but in me, you have found a martial artist." Like as you're walking by. I don't know. Like I just thought that line was really cool. And like the fight happens, and they're exchanging blows. I think like these two, martially, are very close to one another, and it would be very interesting to see how they would fight at above. God, God, what do they start at? Yugen starts off at 21 RP energy, and Fusion starts off at 20. So it would be really interesting to see. Well, hold up, Fusion went up to 30. Okay, so he did. All right, so it was 21 and 30. So it would be interesting to see a rematch between these two. But the one more thing, and the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on was I can't remember where, but Fusion releases his second RP skill, and it's one that he and I had talked about. We have been trying to find a good balance of a way for him to kind of like let out this primal rage almost without it being too overtuned, too close towards a transformation. So he came to me with this ability of just releasing his ki and kind of like this ki shout, right? Like just this I can't control it. Here's my rage exploding outward, and it's just like here is my presence and my essence as a beast, as a fighter, as a warrior. And I think that here, like that was just the most badass moment here, and Yugen did a really good job of paying respect to that, to being like, fuck, this is, I think he said it was like a hurricane of power and force that yeah, here it is. The sheer force of Fusion's presence came on like a hurricane. His intentions were clear, and his power was an undeniable force. And it was like his mind ached, and his senses were rushed by the malevolent energy emanating from him as he approached. But he found the calm again and remained steadfast. So it's like he's like, fuck, man, like this shit is just from him shouting at me, right? This is just his and yeah, I thought that was a dude, that was a badass fucking moment. Sorry, I'm swearing a lot. I try not to. But yeah, this was a good log. It it does end with Fusion kind of getting away, and they're both back down to 1 RP energy, and it's like, dang, Yugen just can't catch a break. Neither can Fusion. These two have been kind of like running the gauntlet, sort of say. So yeah, good job, guys. And again, if any of you who are watching, thank you for it. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. At the time of recording this video, there is some shit that happened on the page. We are going to talk about it. I have some other videos I got to do, but definitely we're going to talk about that incident and things that went down. But have no fear. Everything's cool. At least on my end, everything's cool. I'm hoping everything's cool with you guys and good with you. Again, thank you for your time. My name is Riz, and I will see you next time.